because there are supposed to be 28 of you, and at this moment we have only 14, okay, meaning half of it. Right, so first and foremost, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, everyone. So welcome back to UHL2422 English for Technical Communication. I would like to say thank you very much for your prayers and also your du'as last week due to my aunt passing last week. I really appreciate it. Alhamdulillah, it went smooth. I managed to go back, and then the funeral was the day after that, which is on Tuesday. Still grieving because she was very close to me. And then again, life still has to go on as usual. Okay. Any one of you are staying in the campus now? Gus, any one of you staying in the campus now?
No, sir.
Okay,
No, sir.
you are in your hometown. Okay, all right. Because there is a recent case in Pekan campus, KK5. Okay, there is a recent case. So even though that you are staying in your home, please take a good care of yourself because of the cases are rising every day. The number is really worrying. Okay, right. So today in our class today, we are going to have a look at what we are going to do for this week, and also regarding your final assessment. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. While you are listening to what I'm explaining to you, you can also go to Kalam, okay, and then go to week 10 in Kalam. All right. So I'm going to share my screen now, and yeah, please have a look at Kalam as well. Okay, so if you can see my screen now, we are actually in week 12, okay, from the 24th until 28th of May. And basically, in this week, we are supposed to look at the report proposal, okay, so that is what you are supposed to do within this week, right? So in week 10, we have started with a new chapter or new topic, which is on recommendation report. I have asked you to read about recommendation report in Kalam, okay? And then you should be able to read and look at the differences between point by point and whole to whole approach. But again, today I'm going to recap of what you have learned or what you have read before. And then I have also asked you what are the differences between feasibility reports and also recommendation report, and we are going to look at it afterwards. Okay, so we are now in week 12, so we have like 3 more weeks to go before we are going to end our semester. Okay, right. So basically, if you go to Kalam, okay, and then you go to week 10, you are going to have this screen to you as well. Okay, so the first thing that you have learned in week 10 in Kalam is about feasibility report versus recommendation report. So thank you very much for all of your responses regarding the differences between recommendation report versus feasibility report. Okay, and then I believe that you have done some background reading about it as well. So it depends on the situation actually when you are talking about feasibility report, okay, and also recommendation report. For example, if you are going to or if you have been awarded with a project, okay, and then you need to build a new building, okay, you need to construct a new building. So you are going to run a feasibility report for sure, because from the feasibility report you can see whether it is possible for you to build a new building there. Okay, what are the costs that is going to incur, and then you are also going to have a look at the possible problems that will appear, and also what are the possible solutions that you can think of. So that is under feasibility report. On the other hand, okay, recommendation report, it is more detailed in the sense that, okay, it is more focused, I can say that, because recommendation report is based on your current running of the project or event. For example, okay, let's say you run a company, okay, a printing company, and then you own an old machine, printing machine. So somehow, because of the higher demand, okay, currently So the machine that you owned couldn't cater the needs. So there is a need for you to buy a new machine, and therefore it comes to the recommendation report because you need to decide, okay, what kind of machine that you're going to buy, and then of course there are certain criteria that you have to meet. So that are the differences. That are some of the differences between feasibility report and recommendation report. Okay, if you go deeper in week 10, okay, you're going to have this PowerPoint recommendation report. I hope that you have read about it on your own, okay? Because basically it's just like general information, and also some exercises that helps you to trigger more your understanding what are the differences between feasibility report and also recommendation report. Okay, Unit 5 reports over here. So I think I have it. Where is Unit 5? Okay, sorry. I need to get it first. Okay, right. This is Unit 5. If you download this excerpt, okay, this is actually the one of the chapters taken from the module. Okay, so over here you have the introduction to the feasibility report and recommendation report. Okay, what is about feasibility report, and then what is most important for your part is on this thing, whole to whole approach versus point by point approach. For your final assessment, okay, you are going to write a recommendation report. You are going to present about the report as well, and you are going to use only point by point approach. Okay, you're only going to use point by point approach, not the whole to whole approach. Okay, why not whole to whole approach? Okay, look at the screen now. You have model A, model B, and model C. So let's say if you are going to buy a new machine and you have like three models altogether, okay? You have three different models, A, B, and C. So this is about recommendation report, okay? If you're using whole-to-whole approach, it's going to be quite confusing. It's going to be quite lengthy. It is going to be quite difficult for you to differentiate what are the differences between model A, model B, and model C. As you can see on the screen right now, okay, for model A, for instance, you are going to talk about all of the criteria into one main paragraph, for example, that only describe about model A, right? So if you're going to use whole-to-whole approach, right, the next paragraph you're going to discuss more about model B, and model C will be discussed in the later paragraph. So altogether, basically, you are going to have like three paragraphs. So that is the reason why for your final assessment, we strongly urge you to use point by point approach, not to use the whole to whole approach. Okay, why? Okay, let's have a look at point by point approach now. Right, in point by point approach, you are focusing on the criteria or the main point that you are supposed to use. Class, can you give me 1 minute? 1 minute, please. Okay, all right. So if you're going to use, let's get back to the what we are discussing. Okay, if you are using point by point approach, it is simpler. It is simpler in the sense that you are focusing only on the points of comparison or the criteria that you are looking at. Okay, for example, here you are looking at the cost of the models. Okay, there are models A, B, and C. You have three models altogether. So when you are discussing using point by point approach, so you put it under that particular point of comparison, which is the cost. Then you can compare between model A, model B, and model C. Then you can see clearer what are the differences between each model, and then whether it meets to your requirement. Okay, the same goes with the second point over here, which is about function. So you can see when you put it under that particular point of comparison, which is on function, So you can see the differences between Model A, Model B, and Model C. Okay, so that is about point by point approach. So please remember, when you are preparing for your final assessment, which is recommendation report, you are going to use point by point approach. Okay, and then you can also do the exercises in the rest of this particular excerpt. Right, so that is about unit 5. Okay, we have also uploaded in Kalam under week 10 some instructional videos whereby you can learn more about recommendation report. So number one over here, we have it being put into memorandum format and introduction. So for your information, when you are preparing for your recommendation report for your final assessment, you are supposed to put it in memorandum format. What does it mean by memorandum format? I'm going to show it to you afterwards. Okay, and then secondly, we have the instructional video on statement of requirements. What does it mean by statement of requirements? So certain company, when it comes to recommendation report, there are certain limitation or certain requirement that you need to adhere or you need to follow. Okay, for example, the cost. Right, so in order for you to buy a new machine, for instance, okay, maybe you are given a budget of only 500,000 ringgit. So when you are comparing, okay, and contrasting between two machines, okay, A and B, you have to make sure that it meets the requirement. So that is about statement of requirements. Then we also have uploaded the discussion part over here, instructional video on discussion. So what does it mean by discussion over here? Whereby you are going to discuss in detail, okay, according to the points of comparison, what are differences between this model and that model, for instance. Okay, all right. So if it is about cost, what are the differences? Okay, and what you should be focusing on. And then if you're looking at the features, the second point of comparison, so what are the differences between model A and model B? Okay, and then lastly, we have also uploaded the recommendation part, okay, an instructional video on recommendation. So basically, this is going to be the last part in the recommendation report. So based from the comparison and the contrasting points that you have gathered, you are going to recommend to your top management, okay, so what machine that you should be buying, okay, with a certain budget, certain limitation, certain features that you are looking for, which one suits the requirement. Okay, and then in week 10 as well, I'm going to allow your friends to join in. Okay, in week 10 as well, you can have a look at the sample of recommendation report. So I'm going to open it for you. So this is the sample of a recommendation report. Right, as you can see, it is in the form of memorandum. Okay, it is in the form of memorandum. So this is how you are supposed to prepare your final assessment, your recommendation report. And fret not, do not worry, okay, because the template will be given to you. Okay, so the template will be given to you, and based from the template, you need to create your own recommendation report. And how to create it, the scenario will be given, and then from there you need to decide which one that you're going to choose. Okay, we are going to discuss more about the assessment after this. Okay, so if it is in a technical or memorandum format, you need to have this kind of information, to whom that you are sending the memo to, okay, from whom. Okay, in this context, let's say you are Mr. Fuad Ibrahim, the Vice President of Operation Team. So you are in charge of gathering all of the information. Okay, and then you must have the date, and then you must have the subject as well. So in this context, the subject is on recommendation for purchase of a new 2-color printing press. Okay, all right. So this is the standard memorandum format that you need to have. Then we go to the next thing that you need to have, number 1.0, which is on introduction. Okay, so in the introduction, you need to have several things. You need to have the background of current situation, or 1.1, and then you need to have statement of the problem, 1.2, and 1.3, you need to have the purpose of report, options or alternatives, and points of comparison or criteria. So what you need to put in each of these particular component or elements, okay? Let's have a look at it. Background of current situation. So for this part, you are not going to highlight the problem in detail, but you are going to explain a bit about the current situation that is going on at the workplace. For example, okay, you are a company working, the company that you are working with, all right, is a company that is measuring or specializes in printing purpose. Okay, and then you have this old machine, okay, and it has been serving the company for like more than 10 years. And recently there is a spike, okay, in demand. Okay, there is a higher demand in printing purpose. So the machine can only cater up to 1,000 pages per day, for example. Okay, and the demand that you have at this moment, okay, for like several months, okay, up to 5,000 pages per day. So because of that thing, there is a delay, okay, in the process. So you are going to state the problem into general form only. Okay, for example, right over here, you can see in the third line, however, this might be a burdensome task to the staff as the currently in use printing press has been reported to pose a lot of problems. So what is the problem? Right, so or what are the problems? Okay, all right, so or the problems are coming from the complaints issued by the staff. Okay, so what are the problems? You're going to tell about it in detail when it comes to 1.2, which is the statement of the problem. So in 1.2, you are going to focus, or you're going to tell into detail what are the problems faced by your company, and therefore you are going to come up with this recommendation report. Okay, so again, in detail, what are the problems? Because in 1.1, you're just going to mention about it in general, okay, because you have problems, that's it. But when it comes to 1.2, you're going to tell into detail, and as you can see over here, among the complaints received were slow print time, paper jams, and poor image quality, smudges, faded prints, and such. Okay, right. And then the maintenance service company has been called to solve this problem, but it seems like the problem recurs and affects our printing work. Okay, so that are the problems. Okay, so and you have been telling it into detail in 1.2. Then you move on to 1.3, which is the purpose of the report, and then what are the options or alternatives that you have, and then points of comparison or criteria that you're going to use in recommending to purchase the new machine. Okay, all right. So this memo will analyze two printing presses and recommend the best choice. So that is the purpose of this report. Okay, and then what are the options or alternatives that you have? So your team has conducted a research on two printing press, and then you decided to choose either on Roland Press Incorporated or Heidelberg Press Company. So you have the two options over there. Okay, all right, and then Roland Press Incorporated, the model number for the machine is Roland 200 GTO, and for the Heidelberg Press Company, the model name is Heidelberg Speedmaster. Okay, so where to get this kind of information when it comes to your final assessment? You can Google it, all right? So you can take the sources from other platform, and you can use it in the recommendation report depending on the scenario that you have chosen. Okay, and also don't forget that you need to talk about what are the criteria or point of comparison that you are using when you are comparing and contrasting between the two models. Okay, number one will be about the cost. Number two, options available. Number three, sheet size. And lastly, the size and weight of the press. So the same goes for your recommendation report, your final assessment. When it comes to the points of comparison, you are going to have a look at four criteria. Okay, four criteria. Okay, right. Then we move on to the next thing, which is statement of requirements. Okay, for statement of requirements, it follow what are the criteria that you have mentioned earlier. For example, okay, right, we are looking at the cost, which is the first criteria. So firstly, the price of the new printing press must not exceed the budget limit of 550,000 ringgit. So that is about the cost. Okay, and you must make sure that both of the models meet the requirement. Okay, and then secondly, what are the available options? So the company is looking for a machine that have or that offer ultraviolet dryers, computer control console, and automatic register systems. Okay, so you must make sure that both machines offer these kind of features or options. Okay, number three, the sheet size should be in maximum 52 inches. So you must make sure both of the machine meet the requirement. And then lastly, the size and weight of the machine should not be more, the weight should not be more than 6,800 kilogram, and also the size should be within 6,000 square feet, right? So that is how you are supposed to look at the recommendation report. Okay, you have the criteria, and then you have to make sure that the requirements stated by your company should be met. Okay, so meaning that the criteria and the statement of requirement by the company should come together. Okay, then we are going to have the discussion part. So this is the detail part. In the discussion part, since that you are using point by point approach, remember, not whole to whole. So this is a very good example of point by point approach. So point number one is going to be on the cost. Okay, so you explain a bit over here, and then you have table number one, whereby you are going to compare between Heidelberg and also Roland model. Okay, right. So this is going to be clearer, easier for you to look at. Okay, and then within the budget that you have, 550,000 ringgit, you can see with the all additional options or features available, then this is the total price of the machine that you can look at. So Roland is 515,000 ringgit, and Heidelberg is 485,000 ringgit. Okay, so it is still within the budget, right? Then we move on to the second option. Okay, so options available or second point of comparison. So you explain a bit about it. Okay, what is the company looking for, and then what can the machine offer, and then you have this particular second table. So the second table, okay, will be describing about all of the options that you have, okay, for each of the machine. So Heidelberg, if you're looking at ultraviolet dryers, so Heidelberg have or offer two dryers, while for Roland, it only offer one dryer. Okay, for computer control console, Heidelberg is offering the CRT update, while Roland is offering the digital update. Okay, the same goes for auto register system. Okay, for point number three over here, sheet size, since that it is very short and both of the machine offer the same feature, so you can just write it like this. Very simple, okay? But for point number four, it goes back to the original or the previous kind of approach, whereby you are going to use table, okay, to show the comparison. Right, when you are talking about comparison, you are actually looking at the similarities. Similarities in the sense that, okay, for example, here you have two different models, but you are looking at the same features, which is about size and also about the weight. Okay, but the contrasting points over here will be on the measurement, for instance, okay, or the weight. All right, as you can see over here, and then you describe more about it, and then it goes to the last part, which is the recommendation. Okay, so in the recommendation, you're going to have 4.1, the summary, and you're going to put it again into a table, and it's going to be very easy for you to look at the differences between model A and model B, right? And lastly, you have 4.2, the recommendation, right? So last part, which is 4.0, will be about the recommendation. You have to have the summary first, and then after that, you need to recommend based from the findings, which one is going to be the most suitable machine that your company should buy. Okay, so this is an example of a sample of recommendation report. Right. Any question, class, so far? Class, do you have any question? Okay, great. Right, no question so far. Right, so let's go back to the column. Okay, so if you go to week 11 in column, right, for this particular link, it will teach you on how to write the comparison. Okay, again, when you're talking about a comparison, you are actually looking at the similarities, but the contrasting ideas will be on the the findings. Okay, for example, the size will be the same. Okay, the size is about, you're talking about the size, but when it comes to the figures, it will be different. That will be the contrasting ideas. Okay, and then what are the keywords that you can use when you are writing the similarity and differences? And then we have an exercise over here on comparing and contrasting. Okay, so you can do this on your own. And then we have self-directed learning. Okay, when you are going to do some comparison and contrasting work, you're going to get involved with adjectives. Adjectives tells more about the features. Okay, and also here we have the recommendation report topic proposal sample. So this is hidden from you, but I'm going to share with you. This is what you're going to do at the first stage for your final assessment. Okay, the first stage you are going to get into small groups. Okay, so there are 28 of you in this section, so I am dividing you into 7 groups altogether. So who are your team members? You decide among you. After this, I'm going to upload the template, okay, whereby you just need to edit by putting your name, full name, your ID number for each of the group, okay? And then each group, you need to come up with a proposal first, okay? So after this, we are going to have a look at the question paper, and then you have to choose each group, you have to choose your own scenario. There are 10 scenarios altogether. There are 7 groups. So none of the group will be doing the same scenario. So for example, group number 1, you are taking a scenario number 10. So the remaining 6 groups, okay, they cannot take scenario number 10 anymore. No. All right. So you need to come up with a proposal first, and then you need to give it to me within this week. So in our second meeting, we are not going to have a proper class, but it is more on the topic approval or the proposal approval. So you and your team members, you have to create your own proposal first. Then I'm going to check on it, and then whether it is okay or not. So if it is approved, then you can proceed writing your recommendation report. So proposal is going to be very short. Okay, and then we have also prepared the template for you. Okay, so the sample of the proposal that we have over here will be explaining on the background, purpose and statement of problem, alternatives and points of comparison, and also statement of requirements. Okay, so you need to cover these 4 elements in the proposal for the recommendation report. Okay, what is it about? So this is the one, but it is hidden from you, you cannot see it. Again, this is written in the form of memorandum. Right? To whom it is meant for? It is for the Chief Executive Officer of FAA Construction. And then from whom? Okay, it is from the Technical Consultant of FAA Construction. So let's assume that you are the Technical Consultant. Okay, and then the date, and then the recommendation for purchase of a brand new pickup trucks. Okay, so you have the introduction, you have the background. Okay, so this is on the general information about what's going on. And then you go to 1.2, statement of the problem and the purpose of report, they combine it into one. Okay. And then 1.3, what are the alternatives that you have? And then what are the point of comparison that you're going to use in the real recommendation report? So bear in your mind, this is just a proposal, okay, not the detailed recommendation report. So what are the options? Toyota Hilux and Mitsubishi Triton. And what are the points of comparison? Okay, will be on the price, safety features, specification, and also the engine capacity. So all 4 points of comparison or criteria. Okay, then you have the statement of requirements. So based from the criteria, your company has decided, okay, it should not be, okay, for example, the price should not be more than 100,000 ringgit. Okay, and then safety features, what are the safety features that your company is looking at, and then specification and the rest. So this is the sample of the proposal, and you're going to do roughly about the same like this. Okay, we go back to Kalam. All right, we also have the e-learning resource recommendation report. So these are some additional materials that you can read on or you can refer to when you are writing or preparing for a recommendation report. Okay, let's keep the question paper here first. Let's go to week 12. So in week 12, we have this recommendation report topic approval template. So each group, you just need to go to Kalam, go to week 12, and then you just need to download this template. So this is for topic approval. So within this week, all right, until Sunday this week, okay, but I prefer if it is possible, you can do it within this week until Friday. You and your team members, based on the scenario that you have chosen afterwards, okay, you are going to prepare the proposal for the recommendation report, and you need to give it to me. Each group, the group leader will be giving it to me, okay, personally, and then I will have a look at it. I will give my comment if there is a need or my suggestion, and then you can proceed to the recommendation report. Okay, right. So the template I have downloaded it for you, so you can have a look at it here. Okay. All right. So this is the recommendation report. Okay, topic approval. You may write the details in point forms. Okay, only point forms, not full sentences. Okay, what are the scenario? What is the scenario that you have chosen? There are 10. Okay, not 6 altogether over here. So it is stated here. Please circle the scenario number. So in this context, you just need to write the number of the scenario. Again, none of the group will be doing the same scenario because there are 10 scenarios altogether and there are 7 groups for you. Right. Next, you are going to fill in background of current situation. So based from the scenario that you have chosen, what is the current situation that is happening at the company? Okay, remember about that. Then you move on to a more detailed version whereby you are going to talk about or discuss about the statement of the problem. So what is the problem going on? Okay, so in 1.1, you just mentioned about the problem in general, but 1.2, you're going to talk about it in detail. Okay, and then 1.3, options and points of comparison or criteria. So you're going to have your option number 1 and option number 2. Let's say you need to buy a new machine or propose a new machine. So you need to have it into 2 options. Okay, the similar thing like a sample of recommendation report that we had before this, Heidelberg and Roland. Okay, so you need to find, and I believe all of the scenario only require you to find only 2 options. Okay, not 3, only 2 options. And you must have 4 points of comparison, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It is not only about cost, it is not only about features, it is not only about size and weight, for example. It depends on the scenario. So you and your team members, okay, you need to discuss what will be the points of comparison. Okay, all right, and then lastly, it's going to be about, no, not lastly, it's going to be about the statement of requirements. So for statement of requirements, okay, this one will be depending on the decision of the company. For example, if you're talking about the cost, okay, so over here it's going to be only about the cost, and the company will have a certain limitation of budget. Okay, all right. So how to check about the cost, for example? So this is where you're going to use your online sources. You go to the internet. Okay, for example, the scenario given to you, you need to buy a new printing machine. So you can just Google it, you and your team members, just Google it, and then what is the maximum price for a printing machine, for instance. And then you find the model name, okay, who is the manufacturer, and then you try to put it there. Okay, this is for statement of requirements. Okay, and lastly, for the discussion part over here, so you just need to put criteria 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's say this is cost. Option 1, what does it offer? Option 2, what does it offer? Okay, so this is on the proposal, and this is due within this week. Okay, all right, this is due within this week. Okay, any questions so far, class, regarding the proposal before we look at the question paper? Class, any question? Okay, right, I hope it is clear and you have a clearer picture of what you're supposed to do. Okay, now let's have a look at the question paper. So this is the most important thing. Right, so if you go to week 11 in column, okay, at the bottom of the page, you can see the verified UHL 2422 semester 2 2021 assessment 3. Okay, so this is the question paper. Let's make it bigger. All right, so this is for assessment 3. There are 2 tasks, okay, for assessment 3. Task number 1 will be the recommendation report, okay, whereby you need to prepare the report in your group. And then task 2 will be digital recommendation presentation. So you need to record the presentation for the recommendation report that you have prepared. Okay, all right. So 4 in a group. There will be 7 groups for this section. 16G. Okay, I'm going to put you into 7 groups. So you decide among your team members. Okay, among you who will be your team members. Okay. Instructions over here. Complete the 2 tasks set for this assessment. Submit all the required files, the documents and videos by June 11, 2021. So meaning that week 14, the last day of week 14, which is on Friday, you must make sure that it has been submitted online. Okay. So where are you going to submit it? Let me put it into Google Classroom first. All right. Let me show it to you. Okay, so you are 16G. All right, so over here, reports. Okay, you scroll down under classwork, you scroll down to reports. Week 14, assessment 3A and 3B. So each group, you need to submit only 1 submission. Okay, and then there will be 2 things that you need to submit. Okay, but we'll go into detail about what you need to submit here. Okay, for the submission will be under reports. Okay, in classwork under reports, and then you go to week 14 assessment 3A and 3B. Okay, right. So here are the instructions for the assessment. So this assessment requires you to work in groups of 4 or 3. So in this context, I have put you into 7 groups. So there will be 4 in each group. So it consists of 2 tasks. Task 1, recommendation report. It carries 20% of your overall marks. And task 2, recommendation presentation, 15% of your overall marks. Okay, so you are required to choose one of the following scenarios and propose a topic to your lecturers for approval in week 12 this week. Okay, so here are the 10 scenarios altogether. Okay, so we're going to have a look at the scenario after this. Okay, for task 1, okay, which is writing recommendation report, this is a group assessment. Okay, based on your chosen scenario, produce a point-by-point recommendation report. Okay, remember point by point, not whole by whole. Okay, point-by-point approach. Provide 4 points of comparison, a must. Okay, maybe cost, maybe features, maybe warranties and such. Okay, and then make sure that the report should be typewritten between 5 to 7 pages, excluding the cover page, references, and appendices. So cover page, references, and appendices are not countable. Okay, so where to get the cover page, you can scroll to the top over here. This is the cover page. You can edit this cover page. Okay, and then you are not going to, this is for task 2. Okay, you are not going, the number of pages will not be counted under the references and appendices as well. Okay, so you're going to have the references and you're going to have the appendices. Okay, because why? You're going to take the information from other sources. You are allowed to do so. Okay, so you need to use Times New Roman. Okay, the font size should be 12 and it should be 1.5 spacing. Okay, and for each of the information that you have taken from other sources, remember that you need to do some paraphrasing or summarizing, okay, for the in-text citation, and use the APA 7th edition. Okay, you need to have the in-text citation for all of the information taken. For example, let's say the specification. So you refer to this website. Okay, and then there is no name stated there in the website, so you can just take the name of the website and then the year it was published, for example, 2020. So that is for in-text citation. Then you need to write the full version of the references or the reference list. So let's say reference number 1, where was it taken from? Okay, and you should follow APA 7th edition. Please double check on this, because I found out that in the first assessment, some of you are using APA 6th edition, not the 7th edition. Okay, so you can find at least 3 references. Okay, you can use at least 3 references. If you need to use more, no problem. Okay, and then number 4 over here, submit your work to Turnitin to avoid any form of plagiarism. 0 marks will be given for that contains more than 15% in the similarity report. So this week you prepare the proposal. Next week, okay, by the end of the week, hopefully you can prepare your recommendation report for task 1. So by the end of next week, which is next Friday, I can upload it to Turnitin. I will generate, okay, as usual, similar like what you have done in assessment 1. Okay, so one of you will be the class representative. He or she will be collecting all of the recommendation report from the 7 groups. Okay, and then email it to me. I will upload to Turnitin. I will generate the similarity index report, and then I will give it back to you. Okay, so for task 1, you must make sure that you have completed it by next week. Okay, hopefully. All right. Okay, and then you need to use the following technical memorandum format to write for your report. So this is the template. Okay, so this is for task 1. For task number 2, oral presentation, 15%, which is digital recommendation presentation. Okay, so instructions to students: record your oral presentation in digital format. Okay, recorded video presentation about your recommendation report. Okay, so maybe you can have like a Google Meet session like this one. All 4 of you are going to be there, and then you're going to take turns presenting your task. Okay, right. Situate your presentation in an appropriate context based on the chosen scenario. Okay, based on the chosen scenario. Right, meaning that you're going to specify who you are. Okay, all right. So in the beginning of your recording, maybe you can have like an introduction whereby it contains the name of the presenters, okay, and then the ID number. When it comes to the recording itself, okay, you are going to act it out, berlakon. Okay, you're going to act like you are this particular person. So there are 4 of you. Maybe one of you is going to be the technical consultant. One of you will be the engineer. The second person will be the purchasing or acquisition officer, for instance. And then lastly will be the junior engineer, for example. Okay, you can use your own name. Okay, but you can create the designation, the position, right? And then who will be your audience? Okay, and normally when it comes to recommendation report, you're going to present it in front of your superior, the top management maybe, or board of directors. Okay, and what is the objective of your presentation? Do not forget to highlight this kind of information. Okay, for the presentation, you are allowed to use either PowerPoint or Prezi slides. Okay, but make sure during the presentation, the slides should not be more than 10. Okay, let's say PowerPoint slides. Okay, for PowerPoint slides, you are only allowed to use up to 10 slides altogether. Okay, and plus, okay, I'm giving you an extra for the introduction. So for the first slide, maybe it's going to be the introduction, okay, the name, whereby the introduction slide, you have the name of the presenters, okay, the ID number, right? And then the remaining 10. And for each of the slide that you have, remember maximum 10 slides altogether. For each of the slide, suggestively, you have not more than 10 words per slide. So more image, more pictures, okay, but less words. Right, that is what you're supposed to do. And then after that, okay, you need to follow this kind of format for the presentation. Since that there are 4 of you, we can ignore the group of 3. So let's focus on group of 4, whereby your presentation should be within 12 minutes, 3 minutes each. First presenter, this is your part. you're going to talk about the introduction, and then you're going to engage your audience, of course, okay, and you need to state the purpose of the presentation, why you're giving the presentation, the background, current situation, what will be the requirements given by the company, what are the alternatives that you have, and the 4 chosen points of comparison, okay? You just need to mention it in brief. Remember, you have only 3 minutes for each of the presenter. For the second presenter, you're going to talk about the criteria number 1 and number 2. Okay, and you need to elaborate on it. Okay, the same goes with the third presenter. You're going to present about criteria of number 3 and number 4, and then you need to give your explanation, provide your supporting details. You need to explain more. Okay, so maybe while you are presenting, for example, presenter number 2 and number 3, okay, you can have the image or the picture of the machine that you are going to propose. Okay, and you are going to explain a bit about it. Okay, and for the last presenter, you're going to talk about the conclusion, whereby you're going to provide the summary and recommendation for what you have prepared. Okay, and lastly, you're going to end the presentation. Okay, that is for task number 2. Okay, all right, so this is for the submission guidelines, okay, for both of the tasks. So please make sure that your task 1 recommendation report consists of the followings, okay? A cover page set for the task, so the cover page you can get it from this question paper, okay? The recommendation report, and then a list of references. So there are 3 things that you need to prepare, okay? When you are going to submit it, when you're going to upload it in Google Classroom, okay, over here in week 14, these are the things that you need to have. Upload the recommendation report, okay, Turnitin similarity report, and the oral presentation video files to the agreed platform by 11th of June, which is the Friday of week 14. Okay, right. So for task 1, you need to compile it all together into one file. So cover page, report, and list of references. And remember, in the recommendation report, you need to have the in-text citation. So when I read about the in-text citation and then I refer to the list of references, I know what are you referring to. Okay, so please use APA 7th edition. Okay, for the Google Classroom, you need to make sure that you upload the recommendation report. Remember, recommendation report consists of 3 things: the cover page, the report, and the list of references. And then you need to upload the Turnitin similarity report, which I will give you in the group, in the WhatsApp group later on, and also the oral presentation video files. So for the file, for the recording, okay, it can be either from YouTube link, okay, so meaning that you upload to YouTube first and then you share the link, or you can also straight away upload the video from the laptop. Okay, let's say you save it in your laptop and then you go to Google Classroom and then you can upload it there as well. Okay, by 11th of June. Okay, how to name all the files. Okay, for task 1, this is how you are supposed to do it. And please save the recommendation report in PDF form, not docx. Okay, because I'm afraid if you're going to upload in docx, okay, some of the information might be distorted, okay, especially on the images and pictures, right? So please save it in PDF form first in your laptop, then you upload it. Okay, the same goes to task number 2. You just need to name it like this. Okay, and then if you scroll down more, you can have a look at the marking scheme and also the rubrics, how you are going to be awarded with the marks. Okay, so now let's have a look at the scenarios given. So there are 10 scenarios altogether. All right, so let's have a look at the first scenario. Okay, an issue due to malfunctioning of equipment has occurred at your company's construction site. So in this context, you know that the company that you are working with is a construction company. Okay, as a technical consultant team for your company, your manager has requested your team to investigate for solutions to rectify the problem. So you need to identify the issue and how to solve it. Present to your company 2 new solutions and recommend the better one. So this is more like a general kind of scenario. So you and your team members, you need to discuss what is the problem and then what kind of machine that you're going to propose, for example. So in this context, maybe for scenario number 1, you are proposing or recommending to your company to buy a new piling machine, for instance. Okay, right. The same goes for scenario number 2. Okay, you need to compare two options that you have. Okay, number 3, number 4, number 5, and the rest. Okay, all right. So done about the explanation regarding your final assessment. So now let's go to Q&A session. Any question, class? Class, question, please. Class, are you there? Govin Raj? Okay, any question, Govin? Govin Raj?
So far, no, sir.
Okay, Shamim, any question? Shamim? Nur
No,
Ilman Zul.
sir.
Okay, Shamim, great. Okay, Nur Ilman, any question? Alicia Safinas, any question?
No.
Okay, Ning Chung King, any question?
No.
Manju, question?
No, sir.
Rishantiran, any
Okay
question?
for now, sir.
Okay, great. Putrino Ainul Sofia, question?
No, sir, no.
All right. Divian?
No, sir.
Okay. Haziq Hakimi? Haziq Hakimi, are you there? Ashikin?
No, sir.
Okay, Haziq Hakimi, you couldn't switch on your microphone. I think maybe having problem. Kevin, any question, Kevin?
So far, no, sir.
Okay. No Shafawati, any question?
No, sir.
Okay. Aswaran? Aswaran?
No, sir.
Okay. How about you, Natalie? Oh, Natalie suddenly left the meeting. Okay, Ashraf Kayum, any question?
No, sir.
All right, okay. So if there is no question, I'm going to stop recording over here. Okay.